In the last video, I briefly mentioned one of the tips that my AP Psychology teacher gave us on how to do better in the AP test, and it occurred to me that I should probably share more of them because they work extremely well for this incredibly niche and specific goal. And in case you're wondering, yes, the fact that your performance on AP tests can be dramatically affected by psychological hacks does demonstrate one of the many reasons why their premise is fundamentally intellectually bankrupt, because one of the significant things they wind up measuring is how much access do you have to insider information about how to manipulate this test. But the fact that it's a terrible idea doesn't mean it won't affect your future, so here are the tips. In the previous video, I said that you should sit in the testing room wherever best resembles the place you sat in class. In my mind, that was mainly defined by proximity to the door. I was close to it and my right side was facing it. But it is whatever relationship to the space makes sense to you. It's a situation where you can really trust vibes to direct you to the right chair, because the thing that those vibes are playing off of is what you're trying to access by sitting in a particular spot. The really big piece of advice that makes so many standardized tests so much easier is take them backwards. You know, whatever section you're in, start at the back and work to the front. Whenever a problem gives you a little bit of resistance, skip it and keep going, making a note of which ones you've passed. Because in the AP tests and a lot of standardized tests, the questions are organized easy to hard. So if you start all the way at the end, you're giving the sharpest part of your attention to the questions that require the most work. Also, often the later, more difficult questions will include statements that contain the answers to the earlier, easier questions. So if you're doing it backwards, you will have just been reminded of the correct answer to a question you might encounter later. And then when you get to the beginning and then return to the questions you skipped, you know you're not going to be losing points on questions you could have answered because you're wasting too much time trying to figure out a question you struggled with. And the last thing is, whenever you hit a question you're not sure about, go with your first guess. Never go back and redo the questions unless you get confirmation that you got the wrong answer, because you're overwhelmingly more likely to talk yourself out of your subconscious guessing correctly and talk yourself into knowing consciously an answer you don't know consciously. Anyway, I'm in my 30s and I still remember this stuff because standardized testing is a traumatic experience, but just because everything they're doing to you right now is bad doesn't mean you shouldn't exploit the failures in their system and take them for all they're worth.